Hello, my name is Elias Garcia. I'm the Executive Director of the Kansas Hispanic and Latino American Affairs Commission with the Office of the Governor. What you're about to watch is a documentary of Kansas Hispanic American veterans from World War II to Operation Desert Storm in Iraq. Our community has established exemplary service. This is evidenced by the fact that 42 Hispanics have been awarded the Medal of Honor. In the stories you're about to watch, these are real-life experiences as told by the veterans themselves. It highlights both the trials and tribulations of their military service and illustrates the sacrifices made by our servicemen and women. We owe them a deep gratitude, and we thank them. Thank you for watching.
I always wanted to be in the Army. What motivated me being in the Army? Well, you grow up and you want to be in the Army.
Yeah, I had, my dad was in World War II.
Every brother-in-law that I had 8 sisters, and every one of them were in the military. Air Force mostly, in the Army, there was a Navy. So our family was huge as far as on military. Yeah.
Our relatives were Korean veterans, so most of us grew up around veterans. We have a strong veteran foundation. So when it came our turn to go, it was, it was not a big deal or anything.
Well, we just got to drinking and said, well, let's join the Army. So we joined the Army, me and 2 of my buddies. And they said we would be together, but we wasn't together.
We were there drinking a few soap suds, and Rudy had been to the examination twice, and he didn't pass because he got a little limp. He was big, husky, but he figured he'd get us, And he said, I bet you guys are chicken to join the Marine Corps. I said, let's go. So we went and joined, and about 15 days we were taking our examination in Kansas City.
I was tricked. I was tricked into going in. I went with a friend of mine that we were going to school together, and he told me that he wanted to go talk to this recruiter. So I went with him, just pass the time, I guess. Then we got in there and started talking. He says, I'll be right back. I got to go pick up Sherry, his girlfriend. He said, I'll be right back. I'll be back in 20 minutes. I waited and waited. 2 hours went by. By the time the 2 hours was over, I was already signing that line to the troop, okay.
Never really wanted to, honestly. It just didn't appeal to me at the time. I think when I finally had a friend who was a recruiter who kept hounding me, and when I finally decided to give him the time of day and he showed me what college benefits I could get, I think that's what motivated me to give it a shot.
A friend and I joined the buddy plan to go to the Air Force. Well, when we got to Kansas City, the Air Force quota was full, so they asked us if we wanted to go anywhere else, And so I chose the Navy. My friend on the buddy plan chose to go home, only because he didn't know how to swim. So, so he went home, and I went on ahead and went on to San Diego. That's where I was sent.
I always wanted to be a military man. Always, when I was younger, I would see people with uniforms, and I want to be one of them.
Actually, I was going to join the Army. But to get to the Army, I went by the Marine Corps because they were right next to each other. So I said, well, I had been thinking, they make you a man and everything. So I said, I went in there.
I got old pictures when I was in high school, and back in grade school I would salute, that kind of good stuff. Because like I say, I wanted to be a military man. I always did.
They have all these commercials on how they're going to make a man out of you,
Yeah.
And so I said, I was looking for work, but not really. And I said, well, I got kind of frustrated. I want to get away from home too. So I said, well, I'll go down and join. just like that one day, you know.
Back then they had the draft, you know, they had the local board, and my brother was older than me, and so my brother didn't care about too much about the service, but I got his letter and I went to the local board and I reported it under his name. And so the reason they found out because my mom got word, you know, I was 16 and she was looking for me all over, police and everybody else was, you know, looking for me, and then they found out that I went to the local board, and by that time I had been in the Army for 2 weeks, so they sent me back home, you know. Then I waited till I was 17. I stayed with the National Guard there from March, I think, 1954 till December 9th of 1954 when I was 17, and I joined the Navy after that.
It had nothing to do with patriotism. I'm from Deerfield. Deerfield's a real small town. Hardly anything there. Our family is fairly intelligent, and I always thought I was going to go to college. But when you get out of high school, you realize that you can't go to college because there's no money. And of course, you don't really apply yourself in school, or we did. I mean, we could get along with what we had without applying real hard, get good grades the way it was. But I didn't have any scholarships. So actually, I joined the service just to join the service.
The three right behind each other for our parents, so we had to help, you know, think about the expenses of education with military. And at the time, it was really opportunity for us for the money-wise for education.
I was in college and I wanted to stay in school, but they were drafting about everybody then, unless you had a good excuse. Yeah.
Well, we knew that we was going to go, you know, right away. Like I said, we was getting about ready to volunteer, but so we'll just wait, because I just got married in January. And so I just waited till in October, that's when I left, same year.
Oh, we went out. We went out on the date, and he said, let's go to the Justice of the Peace, because I'm going to go overseas. So that we took advantage of it. And that's why I never had a big wedding or white dress or the whole bit.
We weren't worried about anything like it at all. Just, we go, you know, and then we was ready to go.
And I used to say to myself, what the hell did I do, you know? And we volunteered. Of course, we weren't going to be chicken. Or Rudy said, I bet you're chicken to join, so we weren't going to be chicken. So we went and volunteered. And we were in there.
When I got the letter, I was working for Armor Packing House. And it was just, actually I got two letters. One saying that I was going to be drafted. And the next letter, hello.
Tell me about joining the Army, the transformation from a civilian into a soldier.
Well, I went in there in Cheyenne, Wyoming. I went in there and the lieutenant said, what are you? I said, I'm Mexican. He said, but today's the last day you're Mexican. From now on you're American. And I said, yes, sir. And I said, I'm German. I'm going to have to go over and kill my own people. So that made me even happier.
When you get into basic training, well, you're put on an extreme regimen that is strict. You know, there's no leniency. You toe the line or you're out. All your freedom was taken from you, you know, when you first go into basic trauning.
All that running and everything, I could do it because I worked the fields. I mean, my summer times were spent working in the fields or setting up Zimmatic sprinklers or anything that was built. So when I went to boot camp, it was easy because, I mean, what do? We get up early in the morning, same thing you do in the fields. You go run, you run out in the fields, especially when you had to go to the bathroom or something, you know, I mean.
Well, it was kind of hard at first, but it was everyday training and this and that and so forth concerning the military, learning how to handle their guns and put them together and taking them apart. Communication, they're learning the switchboards and telephones and stuff like that because it was an anti-craft first. And my job was to learn how to operate the switchboard and telephone and radio to alert artillery, battalions and batteries when enemy aircraft approached while we was in Africa. That was our job.
I think it's kind of like a brainwashing process, and that's what they want to do. They want to make you, you know, a military person, you know.
After we got settled down a little bit, we went to take tests. They can give you all kinds of tests. And they check you over from head to toe. And then they tell you, well, can you do this? Can you read? Can you type? Are you an artist? And they give you all kinds of tests. It takes like a couple of 2-3 days.
Going there was scary. I had really long hair, and they told us that I'm one of those vain people. I had the blow dryer thing and everything. They told us to get rid of all that stuff, and I knew we were in trouble then. And I went, oh man.
Basic training is the drill sergeant. He's your mom and your dad, and he'll train you good and give you advice if you listen.
And his whole purpose, he told us straight out, is that there is no more war, but if there ever is, I'm going to train you to stay alive. And if you don't listen to me, you're going to die.
And they call you every name under the sun except your name. That's back in the day when, they really treat you bad. They even had a fat man's platoon. Yeah, that guys went in, they were a little heavy, and they had their own little platoon. And they slim them down, and because they wouldn't take you. They wouldn't take them in a regular platoon, normal people, normal. Yeah. So, and I felt sorry for those guys because they really put the whip on them, and try to get them in shape.
And most of what they were trying to do is get you to get together and know the people that you're with and get along with them and know how to take orders. Because before that, you didn't take orders, and question them. You took orders and you did it.
Will it be hard now? It wouldn't be hard then, because when you're young, you can do anything. And when I was young, my dad always would say, we're supposed to be proud to be Mexicans. So we're always proud to be Mexicans. And he always thought that Mexicans could outdo everyone else, that we were smarter, we were stronger, we were tougher, we were braver than everyone else. Everyone else, of course, here was what I now call the European, but what they call the Anglos now. So we went to the service. If someone else could do it, I could do it. And of course, you're right out of high school, weigh 117 pounds, and you can do 100 pull-ups if you have to.
Oh yeah, it was the buddy system.
Yeah.
All three of us.
We were maybe in different rooms and stuff, but basically we all got together at the night and the evening, or we had different classrooms we went to, but at the evenings we kind of all came together again.
So was that more comfortable having your brothers there with you, or? Yeah.
Yes.
We learned how to shoot, use a bazooka, flamethrower. We went in a gas chamber. We had to qualify to be a marksman or a sharpshooter expert.
And that's what they taught you. And then, of course, they taught me the skill of being a telephone lineman. In other words, because in combat you have to string lines, or when you go on patrol, you have to have communications, and you don't use a radio. So we use a field telephone, and the wire had to be strung. So I'd go out on patrols with them.
Being around the other people from all other walks of life was kind of interesting, but kind of uncomfortable because I've never met. Matter of fact, I'd never seen a black person before till I got there, and it was kind of interesting. And as we went through there, that was probably the hardest, is getting everybody to get along together and stuff, from black, white, Hispanic, Puerto Rican. There was even some Koreans, actually, that were older ones that were actually in Vietnam that were going back through boot camp again. Wow. And it was different. I was wondering, why did they do that? But they wanted to go back into the Army. They were originally ROK soldiers, is what they were called, Republic of Korea soldiers. But they were in the United States military, and they taught us a lot. But the hardest part was getting along, getting everybody together, because you had people from New York, you had people from Chicago, you had people from everywhere. But we got along, and it was, actually after a while there was no more color. There wasn't even a racial thing going on at all.
No, probably they shoved us through boot camp in about 8 weeks instead of the normally 12, because they were needing replacements to go to Korea.
and they sent us to the infantry. My Emilio, my buddy, we were together all the time that we went together, came back together. We even shared the same foxhole. Yeah.
And from there, why, we headed out, and a lot of, like I say, a lot of rumors flew as to where we were going and what we were going to do, and little did we know.
And the food? How was the food?
The food? Well, I guess if you take life as life goes, I guess food is food.
Oh, they weren't the best, but they were edible. They kept us going. C rations and K rations.
Well, when we was in camp, we'd get hot food. When we was out, we'd get canned food or packaged food.
K rations came in a box, and C rations came in cans. And K rations were just like, it was just a can too, but you got cigarettes and you got candy.
You know that little boxes, they give you little boxes?
Uh-huh.
And you got cookies and little candy bar. I lived off that for a long time.
We had they gave us the C rations. Some of the stuff we'd never eaten before.
Tortillas and some kind of potatoes or corn and hamburger.
We eat tortillas, menudo, fideo, stuff like that.
And this was a different variety, and I enjoyed it. I liked the food. So.
I had never eaten like pound cake. The pound cake's in there. That's great. They didn't like it because the what we call them, the white soldiers said, that's yucky pound cake. Hell, I never eat it. I think it's pretty good pound cake. First time I ever ate it.
I like my beef stew and pork and beans the best.
When you're hungry, them C rations takes awful damn good. And I remember we had a meal somewhere in no man's land during a snowstorm. And naturally, got on the chow line, got my cup of coffee, meat from a C ration, and potatoes and gravy. And when I finally sat down, it was so cold, it was frozen. And really needed an ice pick rather than a fork. But other than that, the food was okay. Whatever we had was, to me, it was good anyway.
They used to give you a toast with stuff you put on top of the toast, and they used to call that shit in the shingle. That's what they used to do. But
when we got there, they had a longshoreman strike, and longshoremen are who load the boats to take supplies overseas. So this strike kept any supplies from getting to us. What they did, we weren't getting any food, so they had a big stock in the Philippines. But in the stock in the Philippines, all they had was like canned food. So we ate spam. We ate spam morning, noon, and night until that longshoreman strike was over, and it went on for probably about 4 or 5 months, 6 months.
you also have to, you adapt to the food. You got to eat.
Christmas and Thanksgiving, we'd have turkey.
The food was good. The food was really good. We had some of the best cooks in Germany. They'd win awards, and I mean they had some good food, man. A lot of people said the mess hall food, well, in basic training it wasn't really good because you didn't really have time to eat it. Like stuff it down your face and go. But over there, we had a lot of good cooks.
The food was excellent. We had steaks, we had prime rib, we had good food. Yeah, they treated us good. Now the grunts, they all had the C rations mainly, but they would come in after so many days, and we'd treat them to the best thing we could: beer and whiskey and steaks, whatever we could give them, because they didn't enjoy that.
We would come back from the line and set up, and the mess hall would come up and set up a tent with their equipment, and we'd come down to eat, and they had, let's see, 4 of these big 55-gallon cans, and one of them had a stove that stuck in there to heat the water that would clean our mess kit. Another one was to rinse it, and one was for the garbage, to dispose of. And there were women who would come down with little cans, and they would dig through that food that GI would need, discard, and they put different things in their little cans, and that's how they got their food. And we saw them. So what we would do, we'd get our mess kits and go to and that's fill as much as we could in those little kits, and there were only small things, and take them to the people and give it to them, because they was hard up for food then.
Well, I started out sleeping on a bunk, slept in sleeping bags.
Yeah, it was in a foxhole most of the time, and sometimes we put up a tent or some kind of shelter to keep the rain off. And
Well, we had bedrolls when it was in artillery, and then the infantry was generally mostly a foxhole or a dugout or some kind of a deal. Well, it was in the infantry, had to stay close to your machine gun.
I guess it's no different than sleeping outside in your backyard.
Basically, we went to live with the Vietnamese because actually the Army part, or the soldiers, were either drunk or high on drugs. That they'd shoot each other almost every night. And me and this other guy, we wanted to come home, so we talked to these Vietnamese. We talked to our captain to see if he'd let us share a hooch with the Vietnamese, and he said, well, talk to them. So we did, and they let us have a back part, and we made our living quarters there. And we used to see, we looked down to the bill where our guys were, and then we looked on the other side where the Vietnamese were, and it was interesting to watch everything.
When you go to the jungle, you just don't know what to expect, it's so thick and everything, It's damp and everything. It's just a bad place.
During the winter, we didn't have no overshoe, so they sent us a bunch of gunny sacks. Had to put them on a instead of overshoe.
Man, it's just fighting mud and mosquitoes and everything else, It's mostly you go up to mud up to your knees most of the time, A lot of the boys got jungle rot, what you call. I think I had some because my leg was always itching,
Did you have like an opportunity to change clothes, outfits, socks?
Not when you're in combat.
No.
You ain't got time for that, but just save yourself.
That reminds me of a story. It was, we had just come back from the line, and my buddy, there was with two of us, but there was always two together because of our pump tents. The pump tents were called shelter halves. One would carry one half, and the other one would carry the other half. You put them together, and it had buttons on top, and one would carry the tent pegs, and the other one would carry the two tent poles, and then our squad, we had Coleman stove, and they were about the size of about the height of a thermos bottle, but wider, and gasoline operated, and it had a little pump on it that you pumped up, and that was our stove. But anyhow, we come back off the lines, and my buddy Kenny Ryan, he said, Riojas, he said, remember those chickens we saw when we was coming up out there in the field? I said, yeah, there was a bunch of chickens I happened to notice. He said, well, they're not too far from here. Go out there and get one, and in the meantime, I'll go down to the mess hall and get some stuff, and we'll have some chicken. I said, Ryan, how in the hell am I going to get that chicken? He said, you got an M1, don't you? I said, all right. So I took off, and he took off. I went, and the first chicken I hit, I blew that sucker all to hell. But I got one, and I brought it back. By the time he set up, he brought a skillet. He borrowed a skillet and some lard and salt, stuff like that. And I said, here's the damn thing. I said, how are you going to skin it, or how are you going to pluck it? I said, we don't have any hot water or nothing like that. Because, that's how you pluck a chicken, He said, watch me. He said, hold over the legs. So I said, okay. So I grabbed the chicken and grabbed it by the leg, and I put it up. And within 5 minutes, he had that sucker completely skinned, like you would skin a rabbit. I looked at him, I said, how in the hell did you do that? He says, I'm from Oklahoma. I said, okay. But needless to say, we had chicken. We had chicken.
It's kind of hard to explain because once you know you're going to go to combat and we're going to go fight, and that's no question about it. So we just say, well, God look after me, and that's it, you know. Because I've seen some pretty rough stuff. Boys right next to me just get hit in the head or get killed right there, you know.
Well, the things that I can't forget is the zing zing, you know what I mean? And which one is mine? I mean, I didn't think that like that at the time, but you don't have time to think, really. You just want to try and survive and get in and do what you have to do, you know.
Okay, I was trained as supposed to be trained as a mechanic. I was a parts clerk, and then I was in a reconnaissance patrol, reconnaissance platoon, and well, I was in the infantry.
Okay. So did you see any combat?
Did I see any combat? I don't know what combat is.
And yeah,
I don't. I know that I was in the combat zone, but if combat's like playing cowboys and Indians, I guess I don't know.
In other words,
I took it as an everyday life.
Well, when I was in the Philippine Islands, my brother, older brother, even Navy, he was in Australia also. He used to get around, you know, the Navy travels. And then my other brother in the Marines, he went to Iwo Jima, and you know, that he was in the battles over there.
did they tell you any stories of anything that kind of that you could?
Oh, we did like to talk about that. In fact, you know, I don't even like to talk about it. I really don't. When they start talking about war and stuff like that, just get away from it. I don't want to hear nothing. That's why I was kind of reluctant to do this, because these kids, you know, people that I know, that friends of mine, their kids, that go to school, they always want to know something about it, because, you know, in school they ask them, you know, I get it, to come and find out about this and that and so forth, you know, to learn about some of your friends were in the Army or this and that. So, and they was always hitting me to tell them something so they can report to school, you know. And that's why I got together. But that's something that you really don't like to talk about, because I mean, it's an experience that it's hard to believe that you went through this stuff. It's hard to believe. I don't know how we done it, but we done it.
All them films that they used to show us, that's all it was. Kill or be killed.
Can you describe
Really, that's what it used to say on the title. That's all it was. I mean, well, that was true. Either it was them or us, you know. And they sure hell didn't want to be us, you know. So we learned to survive, you know. It was rough because, you know, being a civilian and going to something like that, and then 18 years old, you know, you're green as a green apple. You learn every day, though, once you get in there. I mean, to save your life, you know. And I'm glad they gave us that training, because if it wouldn't be for that, I probably wouldn't be here, or a lot of us wouldn't have been here.
I found myself in some very, very bad situations. And needless to say, we all prayed. We all prayed. I do know that the Lord was with me, especially in two occasions. And one of them now, they judge the heat of battle by one, and that one was casino. I don't know if you ever heard of it or not, but there's two: the town of Casino, one small hill, and the monastery where the abbey, where the monks were, is up on a higher hill, and that's called the monastery of Casino. And we attacked that, and my regiment, the 135th Division, 135th Infantry Regiment, was the one that made the initial assault on it, and they brought us back. We got up to it, but they say that there weren't Germans inside that monastery, and they're crazier than hell, because we saw them there. and but we never did take the monastery. And President Truman was the president then. Roosevelt passed away, but anyhow, he said he gave the order to bomb it. He said it better be them that die and not our boys. And a wave of B-25 Liberators came right over our head, man. We could get up there and see and wave at them. That was that low. And they started their bomb run, and all we saw was just the first few that hit, and then nothing but smoke and dust. And we went in there right after that, and they stopped us again. We never did take that sucker. And so then they pulled us out of there, and then we went around into Anzio. And we made the Anzio beachhead landing.
Well, we went and made a beach landing. Yeah, from Australia. That's where we had beach landing training in Australia because that's where we were going to go. We were going to land behind the Japanese, because the Japanese had the 41st Division from California had already fought in New Guinea, and we went in to help them out. We were going around them, to land between the Japanese and the American Division to kind of cut off the Japanese. And so we made a beach landing there, and I'll tell you, pretty rough experience.
And then they gave us the orders, and we went into Salerno, what they call Salerno. It's above Naples, and that's where we made our landing. And then from there, all hell broke loose.
Well, we went on the boats, and then you just had to get down from the sides, those ropes you climb down to your little barges, and you go down into the water, hit the beach,
It was rough. It was rough. And there's books that'll tell you that.
You get up there, you run a little, you land, you hit the sand, and you kind of run a ways, and then you kind of go down, and you just wait a little while until they get to heard the command to take off.
Really, you don't have too much time to think, That's the way I used to look at it. You just can't, you just looking around and look to the side, and your buddies, some go down, some don't, some just get wounded, and some don't move no more, But it's quite an experience. That's all I can say. I mean, there's no, I really, there's no explanation really. I mean, you can't put your finger on certain thing. You know what I mean? You just try to survive, hoping and praying that you don't get hit. That's the name of the game, really.
We went right up to the center of Italy, Benevento. That was a big battle. And then from Benevento, well, there were so many towns there, town after town, and you had to fight every step of the way. And then shortly after that, we went up into the mountains, the North Apennine Mountains, and we fought up in the mountains. We'd go up a hill, and the guys would say, I wonder what's on the next side. Another damn hill. There was one hill after another. And that's what we did.
After that, they just bring us back and put us back in the boat and sent us to Luzon. That was the big battle there. And, well, we landed there also. We didn't have to make a beach landing because there were soldiers there already ahead of us. And from there, it was also the same thing. It was flat when we got there, but when we marched up they took us in trucks up to the bottom of the mountains. From there on, we had to keep up the mountain. We had to find our way up the mountains all the way, And that was a rough one. It's just going uphill all the time, up and up.
Well, we got our first baptism of fire was in Algiers. We was having church service Easter Sunday when we were attacked by aircraft.
In the aircraft, I was a machine gunner. Had four, the caliber M51, it had four barrels.
Well, the fear came while you was really in action that, I just fired my machine gun, in the smoke screens and stuff like that, I just didn't have time to fear of anything. I was just doing my job,
it's really, how should I say it? Because a lot of times you don't think about it. You just fire at the people or whatever, and just keep on going. You really don't. It's so fast. You probably see movies, you know. It's fast going. You know, you just have to keep going, and you don't turn around or, you know, you keep looking to the front. You know, you don't have too much time to be sightseeing.
Yeah.
I would call it sightseeing, but that's not what it is. You know, it's serious talk or serious business over there. You know what I mean? But I wouldn't take $1,000,000 for the experience. You know what I mean? You know, it really something different, entirely different. It's you or them. It's your life. You know, you try to survive and get back. You know, do the best you know how. Yeah, and you have to do it, or else, you know, it's either you or them. You know, so we don't. You didn't want to be us, so we had to do our best.
Yeah, the Germans had them 88s. Oh man, them things. Well, that was the best. That was the best weapon they ever had. That 88s. It was they shoot at you like that, and then they shoot at you like that. And
Most of my fear was when I was being attacked by artillery shelling, because you couldn't see that, and all you had to do was just wait and get hit. And fortunately, you know, they landed all around us and shrapnel and everything.
but we supposed to be behind the airborne, protecting from the from the airplane. We was any aircraft. Went to that vessel, and there was paratroopers all over the place, hanging on trees, telephone poles, all dead. And from there we kept on going. We used to go to them towns, and them little kids would be singing, Deutschland, Deutschland, Iburala, in the world, in the field.
Sometimes you didn't even get hungry, you just take a bite, throw it away. Okay, you know, just keep doing. You lose a lot of weight there pretty quick. A lot of people don't get hungry there, you know. You don't get time because you're just worried about your life. You know, you save yourself.
Deutschland, Deutschland, Iburala, in der Wohl, in der Field. Deutschland, Deutschland, Iburala. Hi Hitler! That's the way to go. Hi Hitler! Hi Hitler, hi Hitler. Even the ladies and everybody. And he was ready to commit suicide in Germany, in Berlin. Him and his babe.
Like sometimes we used to rain so much that we'd get in our foxhole. That foxhole would get about half full, and we was right in the foxhole again. And sitting in the water. Those Japanese were just fellas, you know. I'd say, like say it's mountain, you know, but they were, I'd say probably a mile away, or a half mile. But since the mountains are like that, you know, so they'd have to come down all the way and go up and try to get it. You know. Sometimes they get so close to our perimeter defense line that all we had a chance just to throw hand grenades and TNT in front of us to keep them away. You know, they'd come in hollering, you know, like crazy.
Hollering?
Yeah.
So, well, like how so? I mean, what would?
Well, you know, like Balance and all that sort of stuff. Not Balance, but Banzai.
Banzai
And all that stuff. It's crazy. They just come in like crazy. After the few battles and so forth, if it lasts an hour or whatever, you'd go up there and check. That was early in the morning at dawn, you know. After you could see it and so forth, we'd just check up there in front. The ones that went back, I guess, because we just find the ones that were dead in front there. In front of the place.
Take turns sleeping, you know. Keep looking at the holes, you know, in case some Japanese would show up, you know. Which a lot of times they did, you know. Of course, they wouldn't be there too long, but but it's quite an experience, quite a life, a different life. Well, it has to be, you know. Nothing like being over here, home, or nothing happened, nothing but fun over here, you know.
A lot of them liked us, and a lot of them hated us. You know how it is. I mean, I tell you, used to sing that Deutschland, Deutschland, Liberalas, and all them little kids and old ladies. Oh, and we were going out in one town, and Mutter, Mutter, Kugan, Kugan. Varun Coogan. Swas americani soldaten. Swas, I was black.
Oh, wow.
Nix Swas is Mexicani. Look. But they didn't know they didn't know that I knew how to talk German.
Well, we got sent to Korea. And we'd heard about Korea and we talked to some people about it. Well, they sent us over there because they needed tank mechanics and somebody that knew about the new tank and everything. So we were kind of excited about that, but yet knowing what Korea was like, we were going, oh man. Well, we got there and they put us in an engineer battalion. They had no tanks. They had one from the World War II era, even the Vietnam era. It was a short gun. We'd never seen anything like it, never even knew what it was.
9 months on the MLR. We were in the point system at the time. And like 4 points front line, 3 points division rear, so on and so forth. So I was there 9 months on the front line. And I saw a lot of death and a lot of destruction. And I was just 19 years old.
We just signed an armistice and anything could happen. And there was always some sporadic fire all over the place, but that probably didn't come in the news because we didn't have the media with us like they do nowadays. See, but we had at least 3 friends that I know about got shot up, by the enemy. They were weren't honoring the ceasefire.
Well, it's scary when they start shooting back at you. And the Chinese were very good with their mortars. That's how one of my buddies got killed. But we outdid them, though.
Discipline there was real tight because you still had the wall and everything was still up, and every so many periods of, I think about 3 or 4 months, each company would send a unit, probably 12, 15 guys, maybe 16 guys, up to the wall to do border patrol. And that was interesting because you could see the Russians on that side. I mean, they would look at you. They were very still, very calm, just watching you constantly as you went by, either in a Jeep or on a foot march, but just patrolling, and they would do the same thing you were doing. There was no hand gestures. You couldn't wave to them. They couldn't wave back. But everybody was armed. And it was kind of you had this little thing in your stomach where it was like, man, what if something goes down? We're here. We're not expected to last very long. I think they gave us like about, maybe half an hour, maybe. If something really happened, there was probably no way we were going to survive that because we were so close. But you saw and heard all kinds of stories about the wall, people trying to get over, people getting killed, getting over.
Translucent tapes right there on the DMZ zone, and sometimes the enemy would move those tapes over. And, that's what our chance was about hitting the mine because, we had the tapes there to show where the mines were at on our side. But somebody would infiltrate and move those tapes. That was the most fear, about stepping on a mine.
Then they put us up on the DMZ with that tank. And survivability up there was not long if the war started. And there was a lot of potential danger up there. I mean, you were there and those North Koreans were not playing. Prior to us getting, I think it was in either the late 70s, there was a tree on the border that needed to be chopped down. And some of the Koreans and the military, United States military, went up there to take care of it. There were Korean civilians that worked on the base. They went up there to chop it down. Well, the North Koreans didn't like that at all. So they walked over, even though it was on our side, they walked over there and they killed I think 3 American officers and all the Korean civilians. I think there was like 6 or 7 Korean civilians with machetes and shot them. And that almost started it right there.
I remember that day it snowed. We were coming back because the Chinese got too tough for us. We were coming back, and to save our weapon, because if they captured it, they would use it on us. And we were gone about 3 days going to the rear. And we had a snowstorm. And we were tired. We lay down on the ground. And I was covered with snow. And I heard some crunching coming towards me. Well, really, my buddy and I, we were leaning against each other back to back. But he must have got up, and I fell over. So I shook myself. These guys were surprised. They were from grave registration. And after I took the snow off my face and everything, I recognized this guy, one of the grave registration guys, and he was my neighbor from Topeka, Kansas. I went to junior high with him. He's Topeka Junior High, and I went to Topeka High School with him. Fred Coxon lived 2 blocks from me, and he was in grave registration. And when he recognized me, he thought I was dead. And when I opened my eyes, he started crying, and he hugged me. My neighbor, I was really surprised. And that's how they thought I was dead. Yeah, because they were going to throw me in a body bag. I'll never forget that. And when I came back home, I found him, and he remembered. And a good thing I got back on time, because he died 2 years later after I got home. But we talked about what happened. Mm-hmm. He was real sick.
First 2-3 times that I went on patrol, you were just scared to death. I mean, it was, at any moment you could step on one. And if you just thought you had one, well, on one occasion we had to actually dig ourselves out of there, because you have to take your bayonet and you have to lay down. If somebody says there's a mine there, then we have to probe ourselves out of there. And you have to get your bayonet and see if you hit the mine.
Or they'd cross. I don't know how they would sneak across. They sneak across sometimes. You know what? They call them. They call them sappers. They'd be like suicide people with demolitions, and they'd run across the lines, throw these things at you, and they'd run back across the lines.
We were right there. I mean, right outside of Chulai, we was in LZ Bayonet, and I mean, you saw Charlie every day, but you couldn't shoot unless you were fired upon. You had to treat him as your best buddy, It was just politics. You had to play by the game. And then at night they'd shoot you, or in the morning, and then you could shoot back.
The only thing I remember that we actually got real trouble, they had a real bad mortar fire one time, and recoilless rifle fire, and they caught us unprepared. I don't know how they knew we'd be unprepared, but they caught us unprepared. So like the line is here, we're here. We ran back behind the tents. I don't know if there's fortification there or not. But I thought we'd had it, because they were coming across. And the only thing I could think of was, I hope when they find me here, there's like 10 or 12 dead Vietnamese around me, right? So I say, man, Stephen's a hero. He killed them all. But it didn't happen. I'm here.
I was also in the communications with the infantry, see. Mm-hmm. We had to run lines from the back, to up to the front, and communicate with the radio. Sometimes we had to have the ones that were directing the artillery. The one time I got my radio blow it out of my back.
Wow. Was that just like from shrapnel? Or
Yeah, that's a big artillery shells exploding.
Wow. Did that save your life, or was that just?
Well, it didn't hit me, but I think the radio did, because it just busted it all up.
Always get our last beer before we head to the base, waiting on the truck to pick us up. And I walked through this gate and went in. And about 10 minutes later, somebody else walked through the gate, and some plastics went off. And I had just been through that gate 10 minutes before that, And
My closest deal was when I was in the little hut taking a break, and I was called back to man my machine gun. I was gone about 15 seconds when an artillery shell hit the building I was in and demolished it.
Oh, wow.
And debris just fell all around me, Otherwise, I wouldn't be here now.
You could go into a village or something, and you didn't know if that was your enemy or if that was your friend, And basically that's what it was, And that was the biggest fear,
I was strafed by planes and shot at by tanks and snipers and machine gun fire and all of that. Fortunately, I was never hit. My outfit, a lot of the boys got it, but I didn't.
A lot of my people were wounded, so I volunteered to
bring some back, you know, under covenant. And I got, my last day I got wounded, and then they awarded me a Purple Heart and the Bronze Star. So, and then after that, they sent me to the hospital. I spent there, I don't know, 3 or 4 weeks. And after I recuperated, sent me back.
Did you have any close friends with you? Well,
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Had one of them that stepped on a minefield on the mine, and he was blown up. Yeah. Another one behind me got hit by a sniper, and the one in front of me, the one behind me got hit in the eye, and the one in front of me got hit in the arm by snipers. That was about one of the closest deals that I got.
One of my buddies, he was from Arizona. We were laid down. It was in the jungle. We were down kind of because we were being attacked from snipers, and he got hit in the leg right in here, but he didn't even know it until I guess he started feeling blood run, you know. And he said, I think I'm hit. I said, you sure? He said, I looked at him, yeah, there's blood coming out here.
There was this short guy from San Antonio, real short. I think the rifle, his standard attention, that rifle's almost taller than him. Yeah, he's real short. And he used to say that, oh, when I get over there, I'm going to kill the Japanese, this and that, you know. Well, easy talk, you know what I mean? Poor thing, he got it. He was from San Antonio, Chicano, yeah. Gonzalez was his name. And he got it quick like, you know. And bullets don't have names.
Well, the Akawa, we kept on going. Just kept going. I don't say we won the battle. Well, yeah, if we kept going, we won the battle. And we were never did we ever retreat. We always kept pushing forward. Sometimes it was just a matter of yards. Sometimes it was a matter of hills, from one hill to another. But we never backed off. Never backed off. I hate to get on the subject of discrimination. I just hate it.
Well, discrimination was here when we got home, yeah.
Oh yeah, I had more discrimination after the military than when I was in the military.
Do you know that there were signs in the, I don't know if you ever heard this, but there were signs in the barbershops, in the cafes, Mexican dogs not allowed. Here in Garden City, I tell it to people, say, oh, bullshit. I said, that's it. Ask somebody my age, see if they don't tell you the same thing. Barbershops, you can get a haircut. No way.
We came back, Nick Ortiz and Pete Sandoval. We came back about the same time, and so we went uptown and tried to get, you know, see if it's anything changed. And we went to the restaurant, they wouldn't serve us. And we was dressed in still in uniform. We just come back about 3 days. But they wouldn't serve us or nothing. You know, we don't serve you guys, you know that. So what do you mean you don't serve us? We want to defend this country. This is our country. We don't care about that. We just don't serve you guys. Just like that, you know.
And I was doing a little celebrating. I still had my uniform. And I'm trying to tell you where it used to be a cafe, here on Fulton. And we went in there, and I had probably 3-4 beers in me, you know, and I was feeling pretty good, you know, not drunk, just feeling good, you know, reminiscing. And we went at this cafe, and this guy was big son of a gun. I think he said he came from Louisiana or someplace. And I said, aren't you going to serve us? You know, there was us three guys there. Henry, my brother-in-law, and I. He says, no, he says, Chamber of Commerce gave us orders not to sell Chicanos. Yeah. Man, I started taking my my vest off, you know. And my cousin and my brother-in-law, she said, don't make any trouble. Let's get the heck out of here, you know. But I was ready to tear that place up. I really was. I'm glad I did. I probably wouldn't be here, either in jail or dead, you know. But that's what this guy said, you know, that had orders, you know, from the Chamber of Commerce.
And she says, "What do you want?" I said, "Ma'am," I said, "just want a room for," and I told her what the situation was. He said, "We don't rent to Mexicans." I said, "What?" She said, "We don't rent to Mexicans." And boy, my blood started bad. I said, "No." I said, "Oh," so I just bit my tongue. I said, "Okay."
Oh, can you imagine? After going over there and putting my fanny on the line? That wasn't a very good feeling, buddy.
How about getting thrown out of the restaurant with your mom there at Bryan, Texas? They told us, they escorted us out. We went in, me and my mom, I remember, and we went to this restaurant right downtown Bryan, Texas. And we went in and we sat down. And I noticed that they wouldn't come, you know, everybody else came in, they served them, and they finally came out and said, "We can't serve you." I said, "Why can't you serve me?" I said, "What's the reason?" He said, "Well, we don't serve your kind of people." I said, what do you mean, what kind of people? I'm American, you know, I'm a Texan. I was born and raised here. He said, "Well, we can't serve you." So, being that my mom was there, I said, "Well, come on, Mom, let's get out of here."
It made me feel pretty low.
And here I am in full uniform. And she yells at me again. She said, "I don't give a damn where you've been. You're still a dirty Mexican. Get out." She told me. So we left. We kind of jaywalked across the street. And as we got on the other side of the street, 2 patrol cars stopped in front of the restaurant. And 4 cops came out with their billy clubs. And we took off. There was my welcome home to good old Topeka in 1952. Oh, I could write a book on discrimination about Topeka, Kansas, and maybe someday I will.
We weren't allowed to go swimming. And we used to pay taxes. Our parents would pay taxes on that. Our parents worked on that swimming pool. We built that swimming pool. And still we couldn't use that swimming pool. So that's one of the first things we tried to talk to the people. We fought for trying to get our children to go in and let them go in swimming. They didn't have no right to keep them from going swimming. And a lot of them were against it. They didn't want it to. They didn't want to give in. But they finally had to. And so we got to go swimming. But all the other stuff, like jobs and stuff like that, not discrimination. You couldn't get a job. This was worth anything.
Where did you work at when you came back?
Beet fields.
You familiar with the sugar beets? You know? Well, of course, they grow. You thin them, and then you hoe them. You know, after they're so high, get the weeds out. And then when they're big, you top them, you know. And it's hard work. I tell my buddies, I say, every time I put coffee or sugar in my coffee, I get a backache, you know. That's the way I feel. Yeah. Hell, I think I was 5, 6 years old. I was out there in the sugar beet fields, you know. That's all there was. That's all the work there was for us Chicanos here, you know. And there was no other work for us, you know. So we had to be out there and try and survive. Really, that's what it was. And after the sugar beets, around November, December, go to the stores and get groceries to last us for winter, you know, because there was no work in the winter, nothing whatsoever.
Wouldn't let us join the VFW with American Legion, and that was in the early 50s. When I tried again, they wouldn't even let us join. So this outfit has been here since 1948. And that was because, you know, we made our own organization that we can join. And but they really astound. A lot of them say they didn't know that existed. I can't believe it. These guys are in their 70s, and they cannot believe that existed.
We couldn't join the American Legion. They just told us they wouldn't allow us in. And that's why I didn't try the VFW, because I didn't want to go through the same thing. So some of the guys from Second World War called me up and said, hey, are you interested in starting a club? I said, yeah, so we can go somewhere with veterans. And I think they think with Ralph Lopez, John Gonzalez, and Joe Valandran, and myself. These are the guys from the Second World War. I was from Korea. And we started what we call the Latin American Veterans.
I wasn't discriminated as long as I wore my uniform, but after we took our uniform off, we were denied going to the movies and sitting downstairs and in the beer joint and restaurants till we got our Latin American club started.
That's the way it was. I mean, they didn't like us here. It didn't start straightening out till we got the American GI form and the Latin American Club.
We got together and we started what you call the Latin American Club at the time to kind of get together, organize, and see how we was going to go about this to get this town straightened out, And that's why we started the club, and that's when we started talking to some of the business people and people that lawyers that could understand, our side, and we got some of them to help us out.
And we had a pretty good club, and then we were allowed as associate members to the American Legion, not fully American Legion, but associate members. And that was the first time I got to go inside American Legion Hall in Topeka, Kansas.
Well, some of the people that probably knew us, from, because like I said, we've been here all our life in Garden City. And I guess people that really had more, I get feel sorry for us, I don't know, maybe they realized that we went and fought for the country, And they can start opening their hearts,
Group of the veterans got together and organized a group and met with city commissioners and attorneys and American Veterans administrators, and we worked out a deal where we finally got converted to the GI form, and then we really went to town because the GI form was a national organization.
Well, I was elected president of the Latin American Club when we first organized, and we, like I say, we've done a lot of the work here in Garden to settle the discrimination. And then that's about the time, we must have been active maybe 4 years, I don't know really, when some guys from Colorado came over and they came to the beer joint. We was up there drinking beer, and they came up there and wanted to talk to some guys, so I happened to be there at the time, so they talked. They wanted to have a meeting, So I and some of the other guys, veterans, we got together. We met with them, see what they had up their sleeves. They told us that it belonged to the GI Forum. They're trying to organize a GI Forum all over, and so forth. So, well, it sounded pretty good what they told, because it was more or less they were going to be nationwide, So it's going to be a big organization, and we want to fight this all over the United States, this discrimination, and to have our rights and all this stuff. And so we organized with that too. We had the two clubs, the Latin American Club and the GI Forum. But after we had most of the things settled down here in Garden City, so we disbanded the Latin American Club. We went to the GI Forum,
Yeah, we come a long ways. We've come a long ways. I'm glad we did, and it was about time, that they started listening to us, After there was a lot of Chicanos that went and didn't come back, Came back in the box, in the bag. Yeah. In a way, I hate to say it, but it was a good thing for us, you know what I mean? It wasn't nice, but we had to defend ourselves, you know what I mean? They picked on us, so we had to do something about it.
Well, there's the only difference is now that we can, we're free to go any place we want to go, and do what you want without any fear that they're not going to do things for you or help you out or nothing. Because a lot of people go out of their way to help you out now, I've been pretty fortunate, had good jobs since I got out of service, and my families, we all been treated pretty good, everything. We haven't felt no discrimination of any kind after we got all this settled out.
They weren't used to seeing us Chicanos. And I told this guy, I said, look, we're over, you see where we're at in the Marine Corps. You know where we're heading. I said, don't you think they, and I volunteered, we volunteered. I said, if I didn't want to, I probably wouldn't had to come as soon as I did. But here I am. I said, we're all going for doing the same purpose, you know.
It was close. I mean, when you're in a situation like I was in, you don't think about it. You just know. Everybody knows that you just don't abandon. You just don't neglect. You're just there. You know. You know what the other fellow's going to do, and he knows what you're going to do, and the camaraderie is fantastic. It's brotherhood. That's a good word, the brotherhood. That we're just one.
Being around with the guys, you know, that's because you get to live together for 2-3 years, so you get to know each other pretty good. Just like a family, you know.
Yeah, it's just like family, you know, because you're in Iraq and then you form a like a family friendship, you know. You like this guy, he helps you out, you help him out.
Yeah, you really don't care where they come from or what their status in society was, or nothing had gotten in the way of you doing your job and, you know, and them doing your job and that type of thing.
It was good. We were closely knit, you know, stayed together and everything, and we just looked after each other.
It was difficult. You're trying to maintain a good work, and your working relationship, you have to have a friendship, you know, in this situation. So it was difficult trying to have that friendship and not get too close, is what. Yeah.
We trained together to the basic, went overseas together, and we come back together, and I lost some good friends, you know. It's kind of sad that, you know, that they didn't come back and I had to come back. It makes me feel bad, you know, that I'm over here and they're not here. But we have a pretty good relationship. I'll never forget those days.
We're always talking Spanish. Dame tortillas, dame.
I met a lot of Chicanos from the Southwest. They used to tease me when I told them I was from Kansas, and said, "Hey, Alonzo, we didn't know there were any Chicanos in Kansas." And I would tell them, "Who do you think built the railroads? Los traqueros." And that's how we tease each other. And then we would get together and we would laugh, talk about Mama's cooking, beans and rice naturally. And if some guy had a guitar, we would all sing together. And they looked at us like we were crazy, but hey, we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, so we were just having fun. And naturally, we all got seasick, and it was a very close bond.
The main thing was the camaraderie of all the people that were there, because there were guys from all over the United States there that, well, you take the guys from the east, and we're from here, from central Kansas, they thought there were still cowboys and Indians in Dodge City. I mean, they still believed it. And the fact was that they really didn't see or communicate with many Mexicans where they came from, so they wouldn't drink out of your same cup, or they wouldn't share, you couldn't share nothing with them. But it didn't take long before they were drinking out of our cups, we were drinking out of theirs, after they found out that we were just human like they were. You know, so it was the camaraderie of all the different types of, what would you say, groups of people. You know, everybody got along real good once you knew that you were protecting each other. Yeah. You know.
I met a lot of Apache Indians. They were good fighters from New Mexico. They were mostly from Jicarilla Nation. And naturally, the Italian Americans, the Portuguese American, Polish American, and the Irish American, and some German Americans. Because not because we were all mostly Catholic, but we used to attend Mass with the Canadian troops. And their chaplain was a French Canadian, and he was saying mass in French and broken English, and that's how we met a lot of Canadian troops from Canada, and we stuck together. In fact, we were more like brothers, really.
There was one from Scott City. We went in together, and we came back together. We used to be in the same. We'd go into combat at the same time, only a different company, you know. Like I think he was in H company, and I was in A company. And when we went into combat, you know, one company goes in, then another one takes kind of on the side or something. And after the combat and so forth, we'd come back to rest. We always got together and talked and all that stuff, you know. And then we got the calls about the same time after the war to come home. So we came back in the same boat again.
I guess it kind of eases the situation a bit. And that's just about the way things go. You talk about camaraderie, that's it right there. That's it right there. He and I, we went through a war together. And he's in California somewhere. I've lost contact with him. And I've tried even on the internet, and I can't come up with anything. So I don't know whether he's alive, whether he's dead, or what. But he was my buddy, and the both of us, we went through the whole thing together. Because, like I say, he carried one half of the tent, and I carried the other, and we were always together.
Well, you know, I never gave it much thought.
Yes, I would. Yeah.
On a heartbeat.
Oh yeah, I'd go do it again. Yeah.
If I was younger and got called back, then I'd have gone. Yeah.
But yeah, I would serve for my country.
Oh yeah, I went to a recruit place one time in the Marine Corps, and I told them I want to sign up.
Yeah, I'd go back again and help, you know.
I'll never forget being in the service.
But I do miss it. I dearly do. But I would go back right now in a heartbeat.
At 83, what do you think? My mind says I could. My body says, you wait a minute. No, yes, my mind would say, absolutely. Absolutely.
It's if it was to happen again and I had the energy, I think I would join.
I'd like to join, you know, but there's no way, because it's just, you know, you're just too old, and I'm not, you know, when you get 60 like me, it's not the same like when I was in the early 20s, you know, or even teens. When I went in, I was only 17.
Well, like I tell my wife, I'd go right now. If you know, you didn't have to go to war. I mean, if I'd help to the front, maybe help them peel potatoes, or work around the camp there, like in the mess hall, serving, or something that easy, you know, to help out. And I sure wouldn't want nothing at front.
But they've said that there are more Medal of Honor winners that are Mexicans, percentage-wise, than there have ever been in the service.
That's when reality hit me, you know, hey, you're a Hispanic, you know, you are important, you know, you fought for your country. And look at the ratio or the number of Hispanics that have lost their lives doing that, you know, compared to any other ethnic group.
I think we need to really respect and honor is that, you know, everybody lives a different life, but they go through different things. But we're all veterans, and, you know, we got to respect that, you know.
Because I look at it this way, this is my country, and we have to defend it the best way we can and know how.
And the rest is history.